Often titled the father of comedy, Aristophanes is the oldest surviving comedic playwright. As profound as vulgar, his plays reveal ancient Athenian values, ideology, and controversies. Jeering at and referencing sex, gender, religion, politicians, history, other playwrights, and morality, he is now, perhaps, even more irreverent and funny than ever before.
Women's Assembly. The play begins with the heroine, Praxagora, waiting for women to gather so she may reveal her all-important plan. The women arrive dressed or disguised as men. Praxagora asks them if they have let their body's hair grow out, tan their skin, and made fake beards. Their conversation explains that they intend to sneak into the assembly at the Knicks. A joke is made about a certain Agirius, who allegedly is already a woman pretending to be a man. The following conversation ensues.
And how, pray, can a congregation of women hope to successfully address an audience of men?
That's precisely why we're here. This is a rehearsal of what we're going to say when we're there.
They get to practicing and several jokes ensue. The first woman to try speaking asks if she may have a drink to calm her nerves. Praxagora tells her that there is no drinking in the assembly, and the woman insists that that cannot be true. The second woman wastes no time to swear by Persephone and Demeter, goddesses, at which point Praxagora astutely points out that not only was she not making any sense, but that if she said such a thing she would be discovered right away. Thus, Praxagora gives it a shot, and she performs wonderfully. The women cheer at her every remark, and she has to instruct them not to swear or cheer in the name of a goddess, especially Aphrodite. Either way, in her speech, she concludes the following.
But if you pay attention to me, you'll soon see a solution to your puzzle. My proposal is that the management of the city be handed over to us women. After all, it's we women who already look after our households and finances.
That is their plan, to take over the management of the city. At one point, Praxagora mentions she learned how to give proper speeches because she would overhear the discourses of the hill when she and her husband had to live there due to the Spartan invasion. I mention it because this play is performed after the end of the Peloponnesian War. Aristophanes seems to allude at the temptation that would be natural in people to try out a new system of government due to their failure or defeat. It is certainly the case that people in general follow, superficially, the contemporary twists of fortune. Thus, after the war, Sparta was seen as the better system. This belief continued for much of Western history until only the more recent decades or century. Perhaps accordingly, what the women will do in this play, what Aristophanes jocularly proposes, is a total communism. As you will see, not only economic communism, as the Spartans, but even social, sexual communism, run by women. Note that changing from real democracy to representative democracy is not a theme in the play. Surely, suggesting such a thing would have been taking the comedy too far. Going back to the narrative or summary, while the assembly gathers, the chorus proposes a specific political critique.
Let's give the Parliament men from town a rough time. They never bothered before today to show up here and come when an obol was the pay. They sat in the shops that sell wreaths passing the hour of the day. But now they're fighting for seats. Not once in the time of Myronides the Great, a golden age, would they have had the face to take on the affairs of state for a stash of paltry cash. Today they'd make a stink if they didn't get 3 obols for ministering to the people and doing what is noble.
By Myronides the Great, a golden age, he means the older democracy, when they defeated the Persian invasion. One is inclined to agree with Aristophanes. How could they pay people to attend the assembly? If not enough would bother to attend, another solution must be found. Of course, as in contemporary United States, many would not attend the town hall because they lacked the financial freedom to attend. As such, paying for attendance may fill the democratic assembly with persons of inappropriate mentality. The whole is quite a debate, and it creates some doubt on whether humans are indeed capable of living in a democracy. What happens at the assembly is not shown. The scene changes to Praxagora's husband. I should note that her name would translate to something like triumphal public speaker. Regardless, or perhaps because of it, her name reminds me of Protagoras, lol. Her husband, Blepyrus, is worried that his wife has left him in the middle of the night. He entertains the idea that she must be cheating on him. Most jocularly, his servants have not been put to work yet, thus he finds no pot in which to poop and has to do it out in the open. A neighbor notices him, and they each discuss how their wives are missing. Then they learn that the assembly has passed a revolutionary law or decree, in the comical manner in which some supported the bill and others complained. The man telling them all of this, Creams, relates the following regarding the speaker's speech.
Then he went on to say that woman is a creature bursting with brains and a moneymaker, too, and that they never give away the secrets of the thesmophoria, unlike you and me. After all, we are incapable of keeping the assembly's decisions and discussions secret from the enemy.
Strike me, Hermes. That's no untruth.
Then he pointed out how women lend each other dresses, jewelry, money, goblets, one-to-one without the need of witnesses and never loath to give back everything or try to slip one over like we men do and have done.
Even when there are witnesses, holy Poseidon, we men only try to cheat each other.
After further discussion, the first complaint arises.
But men of our age run an awful risk. The women, once they've seized power, can force us.
To do what?
To fuck, and if we can't get it up, they'll refuse to make us breakfast.
Then you'll jolly well have to learn to jiggle, like this, if you're going to fuck and have breakfast at the same time.
But fucking by force is pure torture.
Nevertheless, if that's the policy of the city, every red-blooded male will have to conform.
The scene goes back to the women. These change back into their normal attire and go meet their respective husbands. A joke occurs wherein Praxagora says to Blepyrus that she does not doubt that he will accuse her of being with another man. Thus she tells him to smell her brow to make sure she was not. Then she acts like she does not know anything about the new reform, and her husband explains it to her. Blepyrus and his neighbor complain about it, but Praxagora defends the law. As she is making her argument, the chorus begins a passage with the following lines that I especially enjoyed.
Now's the time to chivvy the brain. And wake up your intelligence. Make it do some thinking again. And come to your desperate defense. The happiness of all depends on how well your brain controls your tongue.
Praxagora makes clear, unquestionably, that what has occurred is a communist reform when she says,
Let everyone enjoy an equal living, no more rich men here, poor men there. No more farmer with a huge, extensive farm and some impoverished farmer with absolutely nothing. You see, I'll make one level of life for everyone. The very first thing I'll do is make all land, valuables, and money public property.
Praxagora goes on to proclaim that, in order to extinguish the natural sources of envy and disunion, sex itself will also be common property. Any person may sleep with any partner he or she desires. However, before doing so, he or she must sleep with anyone who wants to sleep with him or her in return. Meaning, before sleeping with a beautiful, desired partner, an ugly and unwanted person must be serviced and made content. Here is part of the explanation.
Your arrangement on the whole is not entirely wrong. There'll be no female socket without a manly prong, but what do you propose to do for us poor men? Surely the women are going to shun the ugly men and crowd for the handsome ones.
Well, the ugly ones will tag along behind the good-looking ones after dinner parties and make quite sure in all the public places that the tall and handsome don't go off to bed with any female unless first she's done something for the puny and the gruesome.
At some point, Praxagora even points out that older women will offer their daughters to men in exchange for being treated first. She also mentions that she will make prostitution illegal, as there will not be any private money and there will not be any need for it. Likewise, she will not allow slaves to wear makeup, and that slaves can only sleep with other slaves. Subsequently, Blepyrus points out, none will know which are their children. Praxagora points out that all adults will have all youth as their children, and vice versa. Blepyrus complains that this will be bad because of all the boys that beat on their parents. I wonder how much this actually happened. This is far from the first time Aristophanes mentioned such a thing. Praxagora responds that as things currently are, nobody cares or interferes in another family's quarrels, but with her reforms, highly Spartan-like if you ask me, and one is tempted to like it, people will raise and discipline children together. She also points out that there will not be any lawsuits, as there will not be any creditors or debtors. Rather, all money will be held in common, somehow. I guess, unlike the authoritarian communism, if the bank is democratically operated. Unfortunately, an interlude is missing. I imagine a song from the chorus. Surely, Aristophanes had something that was considered too radical during the Dark Ages, although it is remarkable that any of his plays survived at all. What ensues is an interchange between a neighbor who is complying with the new law and a mean man who is not. This latter one tries to convince the neighbor to cheat the system and to hide his property rather than give it to the common stock. He claims that many will try to cheat also, and that if he follows along, he will end up in a disadvantage. The neighbor does not consent and instead does not help the mean man enter the dining hall, as they must all eat together as the ancient Spartans used to do. There is another song missing, and then the characters are an old and ugly woman and a young and beautiful woman. These compete through song and dance as to who is more appealing. The girl is waiting for her lover, by the way. As an example of the vulgarity of the conversation, I will quote the mere following section.
I hope one day, you want to shag, you are feeling the lovely inside ache, but find you're haggling with a snake.
This is so frustrating. My young fellow hasn't come, and I am all alone.
You are complaining about an itch. But you don't want to deal with the Ionian tool. You think you only deserve the real thing, and never need the thing that makes those lesbians drool. You can sing your guts out and peer through the dark, just like a cat, but no red-blooded male is going to get to you before he gets to me.
When the young man arrives, he is frustrated as he does not want to sleep with the old crone in order to get to his beloved. There are a lot of jokes here as the woman pulls him and blocks his passage. She even reads to him an official order mandating him to perform his sacred duty. A particularly clever retort occurs when the girl says,
If you women enforce this law, you'll fill the land with Oedipus Rex.
Things only get worse as a second, perhaps older, crone enters the scene, and she also competes for the boy. The boy begs for help as he is pulled from both arms in opposite directions. The young woman leaves presumably to seek help but never returns. The old crones drag the boy into a room, and then everything turns for the merry. The chorus sing of what a happy land this is, what happy women there are. Blepyrus, Praxagora's husband, shows up with 2 women, one at each of his arms. They all go to a banquet, and everything is super awesome in the Athens controlled by women. There is only one surviving play left. Make sure you don't miss it, and make sure to check out the review and analysis portion that begins the final compilation video. Now, although it did not occur to me as I read Aristophanes, consider this aphorism.
Hair dyeing and beard shaving should be illegal, as most people need to be continually reminded to behave according to their age.
If you enjoy or gain from my aphorisms, know that I have thousands. I will be writing books with short thematic essays composed out of aphorisms. These essays are profound and intriguing yet easy to read. For very cheap copies, look up Protagoras Pause in the Amazon website. I repeat, Protagoras Pause, that's my name.